All right, recording, 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 recording from a good spot. Is that a good spot? All right, here we go. I am tired. The reason I'm so exhausted is because I had to push my car the rest of the way home after I ran out of gas. The reason why this activity is so tiring is because the car weighs several thousand pounds, and in order to get it to move even just a little requires me to overcome its massive inertia. Some may use this particular occasion as an example of bad luck, say running out of gas halfway through your trip. Others would say it's just the product of irresponsibility and bad planning. However, what do luck and inertia have to do with each other? I mean, does luck even exist? Okay, all things that exist in the universe have an amount of energy to overcome its inert state, its position, or its momentum. In humans' case, it would be our perception. Now you may be wondering, why am I on the floor? Well, it's for a little demonstration. Remember that truck I had to push all the way back home after I ran out of gas? Well, let's take into consideration this tiny little car. The truck weighed several thousand pounds, so it had a lot of inertia. It took energy to overcome that inertia. This little car doesn't have very much mass at all, and with one flick, I changed its inertia. So the question is, what does this have to do with luck? Well, the longer that we allow for a situation to happen can be metaphorically related to the mass of the object in motion. If we do something for a short amount of time, whether it's bad or good, the likelihood that it'll happen again is less. The same goes for if we do something not many times. The likelihood that it'll happen again is less. This force that we feel pushing us to do things, sometimes causing us to lose control on our lives, can be categorized as situational inertia. Okay, so the question now becomes, what am I supposed to do with some guy on YouTube's theory about how the physical laws that govern the world in which we live in can have practical applications onto our lives and the social dynamics that govern them? Sometimes the only way to learn anything is to look at what it isn't. Because if you know what it's not, then you're able to figure out what it is more accurately, at least. Being able to make the connection between the physical laws that govern the universe and the social dynamic laws that seem to govern our lives will help us to understand how to become in greater control of what's happening around us. One can equate the universal laws of gravitation to the same attraction between two loved ones. It's both attraction, and they have many similarities. Now obviously one's not gravity and the other's not love, but being able to understand the similarities between them helps us to understand what each one is individually, comparing similarities and differences. So by understanding that the more that we allow something to happen in our lives, the more time that a particular event takes up, and the more repetition that that event happens throughout the time of your life, the more metaphorical mass that it builds up if your life is the universe. And just like an object with greater mass, it takes more energy to overcome its inertia because it has a resistance to change. All things have a resistance to change. so they can form patterns that we can understand, and so that they can predict what's going to happen in the future, so that we don't have to always be in a state of unknowing, or that the universe doesn't have to constantly be changing everything. Being able to understand and apply physical laws to our lives, whether or not there really is a connection there, does not matter, because having that insight, having that understanding will help you in life, and it will help you to understand how to control your life better, and how to put yourself where you want to be. Because if we figure out where we want to put matter using the laws of physics, and how it moves, and how things how their velocities affect their inertial paths, we can extend the metaphor into our lives and say our lives take inertial paths, and they have patterns, and the universe has patterns. It becomes somewhat predictable, at least on our level, and that's good, because we can have comfort in that. If you want to ask that girl or guy out on the first date, if you want to get the promotion in your job, or if you want to become a famous movie director or the President of the United States, then the way to do it isn't just to work really hard at it. That's what everyone says, but the truth is that isn't really always going to work out, and most of the time it really won't work out. The truth is you're going to have to change most of the things that you're doing in your life. You're going to have to completely change the pattern in which you've set in, because once you erase the pattern that your life wants to take, then you open up opportunities. You open up more opportunities that you weren't exposed to, and you use those opportunities to channel yourself, to channel your life, and get it in the direction you want to go. Yes, it's going to take hard work, but more than hard work, you're going to need to do things that you've never done before. And it doesn't always have to be difficult, just it has to be new and different, because that's going to change the inertia of your life, and that's going to allow you more opportunities. When we're a child, we find that the sky is the limit when it goes to what we're going to do in our life. Everything seems possible. The world seems so colorful when we look around. Opportunities are everywhere. We haven't really felt the feeling of failure, or we haven't really felt fear yet. None of those negative traits have really been instilled in us yet. So what happens? What happens to our lives? What happens to the dreams of being an astronaut, the President of the United States, or whatever else, a famous YouTuber, What happens to those dreams? Well, it's not really what happens to those dreams. It's what's happening to everything else in your life that you're just simply allowing to happen. Like, for a kid who has dreams to become an astronaut or the President of the United States, what are you supposed to tell him? That you can be whatever you want to be? A lot of people, when they grow up, don't necessarily believe that. You're wrong. Actually, you can be whatever you want to be. Sometimes, though, life just gets us so caught up in its repetitive patterns, and if we don't address it, it gets out of hand. Inertia takes over, and the longer and longer that we get stuck in these mundane, repetitive patterns, or the longer and longer you get stuck in living the life that you don't want to live, it exponentially becomes more difficult to get out of it. Take, for example, you're driving on a highway, and all the cars in your lane are driving in the same direction. Hopefully, otherwise some bad things will happen. So anyway, if you want to change the direction of that car, because that car moving has an inertia, it has a resistance to change, because any object set in motion will remain in motion until acted on by another force to prevent it. So for the most part, your car continues to want to go in the direction that it's been going, just like your life continues to want to go in the direction that it's been going. So how do you change its direction? Well, obviously, by trying to apply a force in the same direction it's moving isn't going to change its direction. And a lot of times we want to change our lives, but we don't want to do anything different. We'll just say, oh, we'll just work harder. We'll work harder at it. Well, we keep pushing the car, but ultimately we find that we're adding our energy just to the speed and velocity the car already had. We are pushing our lives in the same direction, and we're actually expelling more energy doing so, even though we think that we're expelling energy towards our dreams and goals. The longer that you are traveling, the longer that you've allowed this inertia to build up, the more different the angle is going to have to be. The more different approach you'll have to take to fix things, or at least to get things to where you want them to be. Take a good look at everything around you. It is nothing but ideas. All the information that comes in and is processed by your brain cannot be proven to exist outside of their brain, because it is your brain that creates the image itself. It's a composite of all information from the five senses working in harmony to create what we experience as life. We cannot prove anything to exist outside of the universe. Therefore, it makes it all nothing but ideas and the product of our minds. Which means that whether or not situational inertia is a proven fact, can be proven, or is just an idea, its acceptance and understanding as an idea may be just as important as every acceptable fact that we live our lives by. Because ask yourself this: what are you doing right now? And how many times have you done it before? Hi, I'm Josh, and welcome to Spyglass.